Hello, everybody. Hey there, Brian.
Hey, good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
How was your Blue Ridge class last week?
Wonderful. It always is.
Yeah.
It always is. You look, we get, it's a small group that we have up there, or up here, I should say. But what a dynamic group. I mean, there you got experience from zero to rabbis, and so the discussion is always good.
That's great. I hear the food is pretty good also.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to cater in from New York City one of these Mondays. I was about to buy some stuff from Israel, but right now they have a $30 surcharge on any shipping going on from Israel right now. So if I was to buy a box of tea, for example, for $5, I'd wind up having to pay an additional $30 plus shipping for that $4, $5 box of tea. So I'm kind of holding off for now for buying my goodies from Israel.
I hear you. I hear you. Hi, Anya. Nice to meet you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You must be a friend of Kimberly's.
Yes, I'm so excited that she invited me.
Oh, good, good, good. I'm glad.
I'm Jewish myself, so this is pretty
Where,
cool.
where do you live, Anya?
I'm in Marietta.
Oh, but you're connected with Kim up in Blairsville.
Yes, I had I had a good friend that went to Young Harris, so
Got it,
that's
got
how I
it.
know her.
Well, I'm glad you made it.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Ellen. How are you?
I'm good. You, my brother?
I'm meaning to call you all week and somehow haven't made it yet.
Yeah, a thoughtful week.
Okay, I got to find out more about that.
Well, look at the date. You still don't get it, do you?
Oh, yard site?
Yeah.
Oh, because
Well,
I go on the Hebrew calendar, so I'm
I
not.
know Gregor. I do both. Gregorian.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Robin. You're on mute, and I'm not good at reading lips.
I thought I unmuted
Uh,
because I got three little ones running around. They're very noisy, which is great. And later, can you answer a question? We talked about Jewish sorcery, and what came to mind is the golem.
yeah.
And I looked and so up to see if that was in the Torah, and I don't think it is. But you play with my phone. But if you
Okay,
could share
we'll talk
with the
about
group,
it.
thank you.
Are these the Hawaiians that I see in the background?
Yes, but now they're in Maryland.
Okay. Well, now they're with Grandma. I hope you're spoiling them.
And come here. And that's my daughter, Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
So nice to meet you.
You too. Pessy Leah, right?
Pessy Leah.
Or Leah Pessy. Okay. Thanks.
How's Walter?
Shalom, Rabbi. How are you?
Thank the good Lord, all is well.
I'm delighted to be here.
Kimberly, good evening. I already met Anya. Thank you for inviting her. And Mr. and Mrs. Tobar are online with us also. Good evening.
Hello, how you doing?
Very well, very well. Thank God, everything is good. So we'll start with Robin's question. Robin had a question. Where is Robin?
Right here.
There you are. Robin had a question last week about any references to sorcery in the Torah, and there are no sources in the Torah per se, but there were books that never made it into the Torah, that never made the cut when the Torah was finally codified. One of them was called the Book of Lilith, who was a sorceress. In addition to that, there's a medieval tale of of an entity called the Golem. And the Golem, Golem, was a created, it was a creation. Man, some rabbis got together and they created not quite a life, not quite a human life, but some kind of life. And that entity was known as the Golem, and the Golem lived in the synagogue in Prague in the 1500s, in the attic, when the Maharal, a big famous rabbi, was the rabbi of that show. He claims that the Golem existed. I really can't
This
tell you
meeting is being
more about it.
recorded.
I can't tell you that much more about it. Let me make sure we're being recorded here. Hold on. Are we being recorded? How do I know if we're being recorded?
Did say it.
Sorry?
It did say it.
This meeting is being.
All right. Are we good? All right, I hope so. Hi, Sheila, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, welcome, and Glad and Norm, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, if anybody is proficient on Zoom and they can tell me how to get rid of the reverberation, I'd appreciate it, but
Somebody's phone is near the computer or something like that where they're too close, and it usually that's the case, but that's all I can lend. I don't know.
Okay.
I think Norm, a phone or another transmitter of some kind of something is
You know
near.
what,
There you go.
Kim?
Yeah.
Norm, they've got two boxes on the screen. Norm, so Glad, perhaps
What was that
Norm
one?
Gray, Glad and Norm. So I think that's the problem.
Well, how do I get rid of this?
I don't know. Is Lori on? Can you help?
no, I don't know where Laurie is.
Okay.
You X out and just join the meeting again. Usually that's
Yes.
your overall fix.
Glad, do you
Probably
mind,
so.
do you mind going out of the meeting, closing it, and then coming back on?
Sure. Sure. If you don't see me again. Okay.
But I think we have to get rid of the other box as well.
I don't see another box. Does anyone?
I see Norm Gray.
Where's the number?
Jonathan, look at participants. Because you can probably maybe do it from there.
Just X out of it. You can even mute, like just mute your sound for right now too. You just the audio or just put a slash through it. That'll also help.
Everyone can do that, right? But
Okay,
I
are we
think
good
when they
now? I think we're good. All right. Let us begin. Sorry for these technical difficulties, but I'm of another generation.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
did not realize
Welcome to the fourth lesson of Created in the Divine Image, Harnessing Your Divine Potential. I want to spend the first few minutes, or maybe longer than a few minutes, recapping some of the most important points that we've discussed thus far. I want to begin by saying not to get lost in the weeds here, not to get lost in the abstract. While it's interesting to know the abstract and the terms and the terminology, it's more relevant how to apply these things to your life. So if you're not understanding things in the abstract, don't worry about it. But at the same time, it would be really helpful when you don't understand something to let me know, so we can delve into it. The whole purpose of what we're doing is to get in line, to get our intellect and our emotions in sync with our highest purpose in life. And just by life itself, and just by the fact that our souls become tainted with things that are not necessarily pure, we get out of sync. Now, when we get out of sync enough or long enough, that's known as pathology, meaning that we're just off. But it's not a lost cause for anybody. Anybody can resync. And this class is about resyncing based on God's original design. God's original design when he created the universe is the same design that he employed when he created us. He used 10 faculties to create the universe. In the macro and in the micro, he used those same 10 faculties to create us. 3 of them are intellectual, 7 of them are emotive and behavioral. By getting in touch and by understanding what that means, we get a new lease on life. We resync. But the most important takeaway thus far is that the intellect is above the emotions, meaning that we must find a way to harness our intellect so that it dictates to our emotions and not the other way around. So I want to start by going back to an attribute that we discussed before called in Hebrew da'at. What is da'at? Da'at is the internalization of knowledge. For example, we read in Genesis that Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. There's different terms for knowledge. There's different vocabulary for different aspects of knowledge. The type of knowledge that's employed in Genesis to describe the tree of knowledge, is the verb da'at, as opposed to other terms such as that we've already learned, such as chokhmah, which is wisdom, such as bina, which is knowledge. Instead, it's da'at. What does that mean? Da'at is subjective in nature. Da'at is the personalization of knowledge. It's making it yours. And that's what Adam and Eve did. They were supremely intelligent and wise creatures. They were created by God himself. They had no lack of knowledge. What they acquired by the eating of the fruit is they acquired subjectivity. So instead of the universe, or instead of the world containing evil as an external, meaning evil is something outside of ourselves, so that no one in their right mind would want to have anything to do with evil. It's a very easy thing to avoid evil when you see it for what it is outside of yourself. But when they ingested the fruit and they acquired the level of knowledge that became subjective, they also internalized evil. And by internalizing evil, concepts like true and false all of a sudden became good and bad. Good and bad is defined by us as individuals. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about da'at. I just brought it up in a negative context, or somewhat of a negative context. But the point that I want to make is that the da'at that we have, the third type of intellect that we have, is the key to our emotions, is the key to our 7 emotions, which we'll be discussing. We each have 7 emotions. And as I said, we want our intellect to control those emotions. And the way to do that is through this intellectual faculty called da'at, called the internalization of knowledge. Any questions? No? We're good?
Good.
So the way we can actually bring about character change in ourselves is through da'at. It plays a very significant role. So tonight's conversation is on the first emotional attribute called chesed. Chesed is translated in English as loving kindness. I'm just going to give you a little taste of it now. We're going to come back to Chesed. But loving kindness is the attribute that God had first and foremost in mind when he created the universe, because he created the universe out of love and compassion. So if that's what he did in the macro, we in the micro, we as individuals have to cultivate our ability to love others and behave towards others in loving ways, even when we don't necessarily have those feelings. And love, of course, also branches into friendship. And we need to learn how to make investments in friendship that can, from time to time, demand some sacrifice on our part. So that's going to be what we discussed tonight. But first, let's again review what we've done until now. These 10 soul powers, again, are the elements that God used to create us, to create our souls. And because we're created in God's image, we have control over these faculties as well. In order for us to have a healthy personality, we have to keep our soul powers in balance. We began with something above the soul called crown. Just like a crown fits above the head, the crown is above the soul. The crown represents God's will, God's desire, which is transcendent and yet is all-inclusive, just like the crown rests above the head. But we're not here to talk about God per se, we're here to talk about ourselves. And in human terms, this quality of crown refers to our life's purpose. What is our crown? Our crown is our life's purpose. It's meant to direct all the decisions that we make in order to achieve the fruition of whatever our purpose is. And we can generally identify what our purpose is in life by assessing one thing, and that is, what are we needed for? What are you needed for in life? That's how we know what our raison d'etre is. Questions?
I'd like to know what I'm needed for.
Well, you're needed by me, I can tell you that, and I'm going to assume you're needed by Tony.
I'll have to ask him, but probably yes.
So
But
whatever,
seriously, though, I mean, when I think about me and my life, which is pretty long, maybe I'm needed for my children, for my grandchildren. I don't know.
well, certainly you have a legacy that you've given to your children and to your grandchildren. I can tell you from experience, everybody that you meet feels better off as the result of knowing you. And if that's true for me and people that I know that know you, I'm sure it's true for others as well. So that's what you're needed for. You have a wealth of experience, a wealth of living. I mean, just Sheila, you lived through the Blitzkrieg, and you're here to talk about it. So,
Yeah.
Amen.
and with that, you have a lightness of being. You have a young, youthful attitude about life. So this is something that you have to share with all of us. So not that I'm here to assign your purpose in life, but I think I'm getting warm in terms of what your purpose is.
Thank you.
Just saying.
And about that, I have not met you, Sheila, but just from being across screens, you personally have brought color into my life.
It's the hair.
If that makes sense. You are colorful and bright. I don't know if that makes sense, but I haven't even met you.
I second that.
Yep.
Thank
I
you.
will third that from Blue Ridge.
Okay, very good.
Thank
Lori,
you.
Okay, I just got on, but I love what you did with your hair. I was lavender for a while, but you keep yours, and that says a lot. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. As a senior citizen, I had to do something. I always behaved and conformed and was I tried to be a good child, etc., etc. And I didn't get like this until about 15 years ago, and I really love it, and everybody else does too, except my brother-in-law, who gave me the opinion that he didn't like it, and I was kind enough not to tell him that I didn't ask him for his opinion.
I love you.
Okay, I'm hearing Dvoratova, but I'm not seeing her. How is that?
I don't know because I'm on my telephone.
Oh, okay,
Because
that's
we're
fine.
not on the computer.
All right, no problem.
I'm sorry. My Yared called, and but that takes priority.
All right, well, I'm happy that you made it.
Yes.
So we just discussed Keter, and the personal aspect of crown is Da'at. It's what we were talking about earlier. What is it? It's the internalization of our purpose through translation into concrete plans and goals. So Da'at is, what do I do next to accomplish my goal?
Wow.
So question, Jonathan, I'm thinking that in reflection that, and Sheila, you were lovely in the way you personalized it, so I'll personalize it. If I think back, my purpose has changed or evolved, not changed, it's evolved as I've grown, both in my spirituality and religiosity and my own intellect and knowledge and emotions and experience. Is that, it's probably been I mean, you know me, pretty well as my brother, but I mean, so you can reflect on this, but I mean, is it something that evolves with us and changes as we change in our own growth?
Well, it's a work in progress for all of us. But
Yeah,
one thing I can tell you as I look at your last, I'm not going to say how many years, I can see that it's always been about giving. It's always been about contributing to make things better for other people. So maybe the scenery changes, but your core raison d'etre does not change. Then we spoke about Chachma, or wisdom, the first of the three intellectual faculties. That's the flash of wisdom. That's the insight that's undeveloped, that includes the seeds of full-blown thought. It's unlimited potential, and it actually vacillates between being and non-being. It's associated with right brain functions. Chachma within us describes the latent potential contained within each and every one of us. Because why? Because we each have a nefesh elokith. We each have a divine soul within us. And when we appreciate the holy spark of God within us, we are absolutely imbued and a total sense of self-esteem. Because our self-regard is based on an unchanging essential worthiness instead of being contingent upon what we do. Many people who suffer from poor self-esteem, low self-esteem, suffer because they attach their self to results or other people's opinions or likes or clicks or any of that. And that's fleeting. It's a recipe for depression. But if we get in touch with the fact that we have a holy spark within us, that we are created in God's image, that is what should fuel our self-esteem. So Chachma, the flash of wisdom, provides the motivation for everything that follows. So what happens when we don't feel sufficient motivation to follow through, we can actually arouse our Chachma, our wisdom, through actions and through cultivating joy. Even though people say it's faking it. Yes, it's faking it till you make it. Last week, we talked about Bina. Bina is the second form of intelligence. So the first form is the flash of wisdom. The second form, Bina, is grabbing a hold of it, organizing it, and turning it into something real, fleshing it out, figuring it out, outlining it. dream boarding it. I don't know. If you have a flash of wisdom and you don't develop it, it poof goes away. It doesn't serve you at all. So when you have a flash of wisdom, you need to grab it and bring it down. Did I cut somebody off? Did somebody want to say something?
I was just gonna say, but within the space of in that balance, like I was thinking of understanding. So working with the wisdom makes sense, and understanding, expressing it, if you will. But in too much understand, or the need to understand, I was thinking of it like that too. Like we're constantly pushing understanding. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Or I need to know, I need to know, I need to know. Or the balance then back to wisdom and discernment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think you're talking about rumination.
With understanding, or just
Yeah.
the balance of like people like often wanting to know why things happen, that some things don't have an answer, or not right now. We don't know what's yet to come.
I don't know. I don't know how important that question is. Why this and why that happened? I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever learning I've done tells me that that's not as important of a question as is, what do I need to do to move on? What do I need to fix, whatever it is? How that fits into the schematic, to the blueprint of wisdom and understanding, I'm not sure.
But to develop that one step further, for me, it's also how do I move on by learning from what has been? Not dwelling on what has been, but using that experience to be able to fortify myself and look for new opportunities, so to say.
I like that.
Perhaps, but I feel like there's a trap. There's a potential trap there.
How so?
In going down the rabbit hole, trying to figure out all the whys in life.
Okay.
I thought it was a what? Like, what am I going to do with my wisdom? Personally, when I had the right to be, I was the accident, the tumor that grew, and you don't realize say words can infect a person, get into them, and over time I came to believe that, and then I realized through some help, hey, I had every right to be here, and they were lucky to have me.
Uh-huh.
And then it gave me just a whole different stature within the family.
Right. It became, what are you needed for?
Yeah.
The reason I'm hesitant about your question, Ellen, is because I just feel that for most people with all these why questions, I feel it goes to a dark place. I feel it often turns negative. Maybe that's not true. Maybe
So
that's
I didn't pose it as a question, but rather as a statement that as I move forward, I can't help but bring forward with me the experience that I've gained.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so that's really what I was stating, because I was feeling like you were saying we're cutting off what's been and we move forward with the light and all.
No, I think this was just an exercise of my own subjectivity. Maybe I got triggered by your words. I don't know. But
okay.
So in other words, you're learning from experience.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
We can't help but bring that experience into the here and now, and what prepares us for the future, I would say.
Sure. Well, that's the wisdom of like the experience, and where I think, not to sit on this so long, but where also, because of based on prior knowledge of our experiences, we would try to make a prediction for understanding of what's going to happen next based on that. Sometimes that can be a trap because it's not what is. So like if I was a soldier with loud noise, I'm trying to keep an easy one. Not that it's easy, but something, then I hear something and I make a prediction or something in a way that our body or something responded, especially with emotion, to something. Not always is that the case, but you do have wisdom, or at least experiential, to at least guide in the best way that you know how. And yeah.
You said that beautifully, the wisdom of experience.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so we're on Bina. Bina is the second intellectual faculty. It's organizing, it's fleshing it out, it's making it real. Another important component of Bina is joy, simcha. Simcha, or joy and Bina go hand in hand. Joy is not a reaction to circumstances, but an attitude that we can adopt, that can aid us in character development. And Bina, this understanding, can actually nurture joy when it's used to put things in perspective or to frame things positively. I think this is somewhat going back to what we've been discussing the last few minutes. The need to always frame in a positive way. We also talked about depression. We said that depression is a negative feeling, which leads to inaction. There is no profit in it whatsoever. Whereas another feeling, a feeling of dissatisfaction as opposed to depression, can actually spur positive change. We said in Hebrew, the term for depression is called atzvut, which means melancholy, which means wanting to pull the covers over your head, whereas dissatisfaction is called merarut, which comes from the infinitive of bitterness. And that's a positive thing, because when you're down and you're like, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired, I'm not going to take it anymore, that leaves, there's profit in that. It's a high energy form of downness. So, bottom line, consciously adopting a positive mindset will aid greatly in terms of banishing sad thoughts. And sad thoughts, I'm sorry, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, Kim, but like, there's like nothing positive to say about negative thoughts. There's nothing whatsoever that can't lead. You can't dig yourself out of a hole. You can't go into a hole and try to pull yourself out by your own hair. It doesn't work. You just dig deeper and deeper. Also, let me just say that there are unfortunate circumstances in life, and some of them don't change. Some of them are unlikely to change. We have to face that. And in those situations, acceptance is the only strategy for overcoming that sadness that goes hand in hand with life's situations that you can't do anything about. Questions, comments?
Yes, when you're, most of us, I think, are of an age where we've been bereaved, we've lost parents, we've lost in-laws. Tony and I were talking about his mum the other day. She was a lovely woman. She was very, very funny. She was bipolar, but when she was in the high, she was very, very funny. And I was recounting something. She's been gone quite a long time. And I just stopped and I looked at him and I said, that was a happy memory. Even when you've been bereaved, at some point, the people that you've lost, you can find something, hopefully you can find something good, so that the memory, instead of just being sad, you've got something good to think about them. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes.
My granddaughter, the rest in peace, she cracks me up every day because she's always in my head. And she's been gone 15 years, but it's like I had her just the other day because she brought us so much joy. I was blessed.
Truly blessed that you can see it that way also.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say I think absolutely 100% what you're saying, like working towards acceptance or staying stuck in sadness does not bear any fruits, so to speak. But at the same time, where, in that initial, whatever the thing is or felt space, I mean, there are times that, maybe it doesn't serve me, but I feel like a good cleanse of a cry that my grandmother's been gone for a while now. Now, every now and again, I'll watch the CD that we made with music for her, just to like emote that which is there, like, missing her or loss. And I move on. I don't stay there. I don't, but it's like balancing both. Of course, I think of happy memories and ways in which make me smile, or where sad, someone feels their feelings and it's not just move on, but it doesn't serve to stay there in any of those. But where at least one can embrace the initial felt sense of whatever is going on without, it's fine because that has its cost too, but it doesn't serve to stay in this, yes, what can go down into like a depressed state where nothing really can function or shift.
I think each of us knows for ourselves the difference between sadness and depression. A good cry is cleansing. It doesn't necessarily lead to depression. Depression is low energy.
Right.
My mother always said that God gave me tears to wash things.
Very good. So I just want to get through the wrap up. This third quality of intelligence called da'at, called internalization, is the bridge that connects the mind to the heart. That's the relevance of this conversation. We use our mind to control our heart. When we let our heart control our mind, well, I don't have to tell you, it does not turn out well. Let's look at text 1 on page 92. If anybody has it and would like to read, then please start reading. Otherwise, I'll do it.
It's my iPad's playing up.
Okay.
I have it if no one else wants to do it.
Okay, go ahead, Ella. This
All
is
right.
from the Alter Rebbe, Shneur Zalman of Liadi, in his magnum opus called Tanya. Please go ahead.
Dot revisited. Source and root of the emotions is the Hakma, Bina, and Dot of the soul.
Excuse me, that's the flash of wisdom, the understanding, and the internalization. Go on.
Wait a minute, I'm writing that down. Give me a minute. Okay. Of the soul. For a person's emotive traits are in proportion to his intellect. This is empirically evident with a child, for example, whose Hakma, Bina, and Dot are in a state of immaturity, and so all his emotive traits also relate to insignificant things. With adults too, according to his intelligence, is a man praised. For the extent of his love and kindness corresponds to the extent of his Hakma, Bina, and Dot. But most important is one's Dot. This is readily observable, for the differences between the emotive traits of various people correspond to the differences in their respective degrees of Dot.
Thank you very much. To paraphrase, if you think about a child, and it doesn't have to be a chronological child, but if you think about people who are stunted for whatever reasons in their growth, for whatever the reasons may be, their emotions simply, they're inconsistent. They can't be relied upon. Just like a young child will throw a tantrum over a piece of candy. That's perfectly appropriate for a 4-year-old, but it's not appropriate for a 40-year-old to throw a tantrum about a scratch on his Ferrari, but he does. A spiritually evolved person is one whose emotions are guided by his mind. intelligent emotions. But think about it, intelligence and emotions are complete opposites. So how do they come together if they're opposites? And it's the dot, it's the internalization of knowledge that bridges the gap. Don't forget, dot, internalization is subjective in nature, just like emotions are subjective in nature. So internalization of knowledge is, think of it as a bridge that touches intellect on one side and emotions on the other. So you could say that dot, internalization, functions as focus. What are you focusing on? And what are you concentrating on? It's not what we know, but where we're focused and what we concentrate on. So dot, internalization, is part of intelligence. It's in the mind. But it's how your mind turns to a particular topic, how it focuses. It's the mind drawing close to a specific piece of information. It's how the mind connects with a specific idea. Connection, drawing close, attraction. These are all emotional characteristics as they exist in the mind. That's the power of internalization. So again, dot is the ultimate bridge between the mind and the heart, between intelligence and emotions, because it contains features of both. The reason I'm spending so much time on this is because we need practical strategies, as we will lay on later, in terms of how to affect our emotions. And it's a top-down model. Top-down model. It starts with the intellect. It's an intellectual process of the mind, but it's also a connection which is characteristic of the heart. I'm not into sports. I don't follow sports. I don't concentrate on sports. I don't even know, is this football or basketball season? I don't know. So you could say that sports does not exist in my world. So I don't have any feelings whatsoever about any team, about whatever the discussions are, steroids, whatever people are talking about. It's just, I don't have any feelings about it. If somebody asked me a question about steroids or whatever the issues are, I could offer an opinion, but I don't have any feelings whatsoever. Why am I bringing this up as an example? Because it's what we allow in our minds, what we think about, what we focus on, that determines our emotions about things. So if we want to have different feelings, if we want to have different sensitivities, if we want to create a different reality for ourselves, it requires thinking and focusing differently. So dot, this internalization of knowledge, is what allows our minds to be connected with, to shape our reality. And that's the key to our emotions. Because what we focus on affects how we feel. For example, think about someone or something that really, or who really angers you, who really frustrates you. That should be easy for everyone. Think about somebody like that. Focus intensely on that person. Now think about somebody who makes you happy. Focus intensely on that person. Do you see how your feelings change? Based on your intellect, based on your mind's focus. Whatever you're focused on affects your feeling. So what we think about, what we focus on, creates our reality. It shapes our emotions. What I choose to focus on is analogous to what we're going to be discussing tonight, which is chesed, which is attraction, What I choose to focus on is what I'm attracted to. What I choose not to focus on is akin to the opposite emotion of loving kindness, which I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but it's called in Hebrew gevura, which means restraint or withdrawal. Bottom line is, a spiritually evolved individual, as we've defined it, is one who possesses intelligent emotions. Someone who's working towards gaining control of his da'at, of that place in his intellect that's subjective, so that he can guide his emotions. All right, let's jump into chesed, but first, any questions, comments, cucumbers? No.
I thought Gavura meant strength.
Gevura, one of the translations of Gevura is strength. We're going to be talking about that next week. I just wanted to give you a little taste.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. What was it that you just said about emotional intelligence? Were you saying that is required for da'at?
Emotional intelligence is da'at. Emotional da'at, internalized knowledge, is the bridge between the intellect and the emotions. And that's why in the schematic, in the blueprint, it's in the middle, because it harmonizes the other two types of intelligence and draws down to the emotions. So there's two basic emotions. I like and I don't like. I'm attracted, I'm repulsed. I'm close, I'm distant. I'm connected, I'm separate. Chesed, by the way, in Hebrew, the CH sound together is cha, which, if you haven't heard it before and you're not an ex-smoker, you cannot make the cha sound.
That's a fact.
So chesed, loving kindness. Loving kindness is chesed. Chesed is defined as loving kindness, is a feeling of closeness. I feel close, I want to be even closer. That's also love. I love you because there's certain familiarity between us. There's a connection, and I want an even closer connection. That's what chesed feels like. What does chesed do? What does loving kindness do? It puts into action loving acts of kindness, which express closeness and therefore create even more closeness. Love in a relationship is built on a certain feeling of closeness. I feel close, therefore I feel love. And because I feel love, I want an even greater measure of closeness. And that's also a potential danger of love. It can become controlling. It can become manipulative. It can become stifling. I want so much closeness that I'm going to swallow you up. That's an unhealthy love. Because as we know, there has to be a certain space between two people to have a healthy love. So this guy's fishing and he catches a fish. And the fish, as he throws the fish into the basket, the fish hears the fisherman say, "I love fish." And as soon as the fish hears that, he's greatly relieved. No more anxiety, because the fisherman loves fish. Until the fisherman puts the fish on a platter and he realizes that the fisherman's love was kind of an unhealthy love. It's an all-consuming love. So healthy love exists between two individuals who share a certain closeness. But there also has to be a certain distance. We read in the book of Psalms in Tehillim, in Tehillim, Psalm 89 The world is built with chesed. King David says the world is built with chesed. The world is built with loving kindness. What does King David mean here? He means that the reason that God created the universe was to express his kindness. Because God's nature is absolute benevolence, absolute loving kindness. Moving on. In the book of Leviticus, we read, love your fellow as yourself. And you see the statement throughout the Old Testament and throughout the New Testament. We're charged to love a fellow stranger. But let me ask you a question. How can you be commanded to love? Isn't love a feeling? How can somebody command you to love? It's an emotion. It's either there or it's not. How can you tell me what to feel? You can tell your kids to clean their room, but you can't demand that they love cleaning their room. Let me ask a question. Why is it that each of us can and is good at criticizing ourselves? Anyone?
It's a good question.
How come we're so good at criticizing ourselves? How is it we can do it and nobody else can do it? Sheila can criticize Sheila, but if you all the time criticize Sheila, it's not going to end well. What is that? What is going on with that? Because we know that deep down, despite our own failings, we are absolutely good. That's why we can criticize ourselves. No matter how much we beat ourselves up, somehow, unless you're in a profoundly pathological state of being, you know that you're good, despite the self-criticism. Make sense?
Yes.
Don't you think that the Hebrew word for love tells you a lot about what love is?
Tell us.
Giving.
Ahava?
But if I really love, I want to give. And hopefully the person on the other end is feeling the same way and wants to give to me.
Very good. Very good.
Sometimes I learn something and it really sticks. I like that one.
I like that too. Thank you very much to our total. So we're capable of criticizing ourselves, but there's no way most of us can tolerate criticism from others. It says in text 13a in the Talmud, a person sees no fault in himself. And it says in the Mishnah, in King Solomon's Proverbs, it says, love covers up all sins. So self-love is the result of our awareness of our divine image, our infinitely good essence. So by loving ourselves, when someone else judges us by our external aspects, we get upset. We know ourselves. We know we're good. And somebody just judged me because I cut him off, because I made an illegal left turn in front of him and he missed the light. So when somebody criticizes me, what do I say? I say, oh, that's not really me. You got it all wrong. How dare you judge me on such superficial things? Which brings up the question, How do you love irritating people?
Oh my gosh. That's not easy.
No?
No.
Sorry, did you want to say something?
Well, I had an experience this weekend where an inebriated woman was trying to get into my husband's car, thinking that it was her car, and found myself getting really upset with her, but really concerned about her too. And my husband later asked, he said to me, like, you were provoking her. And I didn't mean to provoke her. I think, like I wanted to wake her up to her situation, that she wasn't safe to be driving. It was, kind of an interesting realization to me that I wasn't behaving around her the way I felt towards her, like this real concern. So anyway, I didn't know what to do for her at the moment. But I did call the police because I was concerned. I didn't want her to hurt herself, and I didn't want her to hurt anybody else. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of felt like that was the loving kind, the right thing to do for her. But then today I was driving in traffic and there was a guy on a motorcycle that was really loud, and he really loved revving his engine, and it was like very irritating to me. I didn't know what to do about it, but I think I think sometimes we just don't know what to do, but I do think that love is a verb. It's not a feeling. It's something that we do. So it doesn't matter how you feel, because our feelings are flighty, they change all the time. But if you love, it's something that you take action to do.
That's great, Lori. Thank you for sharing those two examples. So why does God place so many annoying people in our lives?
That's a question I've always asked.
I'm going to answer it. But
Go on.
I'm already telling you're not going to like the answer.
Okay.
You might like the second answer, but I'm going to start with the first answer. Because of our self-love, we are sometimes blocked from seeing our own deficiencies. So God, in his benevolence, puts those deficiencies of our own in other people. So when we see them in other people, we definitely get in touch with what we consider to be annoying and irritating. Our job, according to the Baal Shem Tov, an 18th century Hasidic master, is to look at every such encounter as a mirror. Not to say that if you see an atrocious individual, that you're an atrocious individual, but on a certain level, even on a minute level, there's something going on that one can internalize and learn and grow from, because our self-love blocks us from being able to see us the way we are. To be able to see our own deficiencies, excuse me. But that's a little bit off topic. So the question remains, how do you love the other guy who is so annoying? The answer is, according to Hasidus, is to focus, is to meditate on the fact that just like you, they also have a divine image. They have a soul. They have infinite potential that is moments away from bursting forth. So just like when you're patting yourself on the back despite your own deficiencies, because you know in your heart of hearts that you have this gorgeous divine image, extend that courtesy to the other guy. This is also known in common parlance as unconditional love. Being in touch with a person's soul. That where every one of us is created with divine image. Conditional love, this is like basic stuff, but conditional love is based on certain factors. How the person dresses, how they think, how they look, how they speak, how they act. This is all superficial. Unconditional or essential love is love irrespective of external factors. Okay, like, duh, you guys all know that already. All of us struggle with these judgments because we're looking outside instead of inside. There was a chassid of the Friedlicher Rebbe. There was an adherent, a Jewish adherent, a rabbi, to the big rabbi of the previous generation in the 1920s. The big Rebbe had to get out of the Soviet Union after the revolution because religion became forbidden, and he was going to be arrested for treason. So he got out, but he left a handful of his adherents there to try to spread Judaism through the Soviet Union. It didn't work out well for most of them because the Soviets just killed them or put them in the Gulag. One such Jew was a guy named Mendel Futerfas. Mendel Futerfas in the 1940s was busy manufacturing fake passports to help other people get out of the Soviet Union through Poland. He got busted big time by the Soviet authorities. Somehow they didn't kill him. They stuck him in the Gulag in Siberia and moved him from prison camp to prison camp. And one such camp, he was in a barracks with just common street criminals, just the worst of the worst. And they passed their time every day by playing cards. But cards were illegal in the Soviet system. The guards knew they had cards, and every day they would run in unannounced to the barracks to try to catch them red-handed with the cards. They could never catch them. So out of desperation, the authorities one day came in just like the movies, with the crowbars, and they're lifting up the floorboards and slicing the mattresses. There are feathers all over the place. They can't find the cards. The place is a total shambles. They leave exasperated. And these criminals, they straighten up the table and the chairs and, okay, whose deal is it? And out come the cards. So this guy, Mendel Futerfas, looks at this, shaking his head. Okay, you guys, you got to tell me, how did you do this? He says, it's very simple. You see that guy over there, Ivan? Ivan is the most famous pickpocket in all of Moscow. Nobody can pickpockets like Ivan. So he takes the cards when the authorities come in and he puts them in their pocket. And before they leave, he takes it back out. And that's why they can never find the cards. So I had the privilege of actually hearing the story from Mendel Futerfas in the 1980s as an old man, talking about what we're talking about tonight. That you have to focus on yourself. You have to look at your own limitations and deficiencies, not out there. Good story, huh? All right, let's refocus on what we're talking about, which is unconditional love. One second. Maimonides says in text 9 on page 96, physical factors terminate, causing the end of that which was conditional on them. But when the cause of the love is godly, the love does not cease. So our initial attraction may be external, but love ultimately must be deeper to withstand the test of time. And this has to do with the capacity to love and to care for aging parents, as an example. Or God forbid, an ill spouse. God forbid, a special needs child. This is where that comes from. It's not about what we may receive in return, but who they are in essence. Something very interesting, I find at least. Text 14a. This is this took place about the year 100 in the Common Era. A Gentile came to Shammai. There were two main schools of two main Torah academies in Jerusalem at this time. One of them was run by a teacher, a rabbi named Shammai, and the other by a rabbi named Hillel. A non-Jew, a Gentile, came to Shammai, and he said to him, "Convert me, but on the condition that you teach me the entire Torah while I stand on one foot." That's a euphemism for teach me, give me the Idiot's Guide to Judaism, because I want to become Jewish. So Shammai picks up a stick and he chases him out of the academy. The same Gentile comes to the other academy run by Hillel, who converted him. What did he teach this Gentile? He taught him one thing and one thing only. He said, what is hateful to you, don't do to your fellow. And then he went on to say, this is the entire Torah. All the rest is commentary. Now go and learn. So one question, if you study this text, is why did he phrase it in the negative? Don't do to him what you don't want done to you. Wouldn't it have been nicer and prettier to say, love your fellow as yourself? Hillel is teaching that the minimum requirement, even when you're not capable of awakening the love for somebody else, you still have to be a mensch. You still have to be a good guy and refrain from hateful behavior. You're not allowed to act out of revenge. You're not allowed to act out of spite. And this is true in a positive sense also. Even when we don't feel the pain, even when we don't feel the hunger of the needy or the discomfort of the stranger, we must act as though we do.
It's interesting. I'm listening and learning, but in the New Testament, since I am Christian, the question was asked: is that which is the greatest of the commandment? And the answer was, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. The second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets."
Say it again. What was the last sentence?
It says, on these two things hang all the law and the prophets. So the answer was exactly what you had mentioned before, the fact that this is the entire Torah. Love God, love your neighbor, or love others. The fact that great correspondence.
Walter, it's so good to have your perspective. Thank you. It's valuable for all of us.
Rabbi, I was thinking too, from like a standpoint of in the therapy world, but Carl Rogers or Rogerian, the positive, the unconditional positive regard, or even Mr. Rogers, right? Fred Rogers spoke about not doing something like loving as you are. You are, that loving kindness and the, without the judgment, without the need to fix, without the, just as one is. And so I'll that's kind of my way of working too with people, is that client-centered or person-centered. Come as you are, truly come as you are. You don't have to put on for me. Even some of the teens, I know that the idea of therapy is like, you can talk to this person, you can tell them, you don't have to do anything. I don't have this lesson plan. If you want to talk, you can talk. If you want to sit with me or just be. Sometimes that in itself too can be therapy. I'm not pushing you to speak. Anyways, it makes me, a lot of these things tie too within the space at which just makes sense for me from that framework, and then other frameworks, as Walter said. So, yeah.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Well, I don't know if this is in the same context, but I have a very close friend that was widowed 2 years ago. And I speak to her frequently. Actually, I don't do the speaking. I do the listening. We don't live in the same area, so it's all done on the phone. But if she wants to talk, I just listen. I'm not there to give an opinion. I'm just there to let her express her feelings. And if she asks for an opinion, I'll give it, but I don't offer it. Is that part of the same thing?
I guess it could be, but I mean, this is just Jonathan, and I'm not basing this on anything but my reaction to that statement. Seems to me that a more authentic relationship has some give and take in it, where you need to talk also. But if you see yourself as just support, which is very noble, then for sure she needs, and you're there to give to her. So if it's a friend and you want to develop the friendship, I think there needs to be some reciprocation. But you may be doing her a great service just by being there for her.
Yeah, and she is a friend. And I'm sure she would do, I don't even want to say, but I'm sure it would be there for me if I needed it. But I just think sometimes it's really good to listen to people, not always do all the talking.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But I don't know if that's part of what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's all related. I think it's all related. You know, there's this really, there's a statement in the Mishnah, in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers. And every time I see this, it kind of jars me. It says, acquire a friend for yourself. What does that mean? Acquire a friend for yourself. You're supposed to buy a friend? What kind of friend is bought? Let me just read you a text from the Bartanura, big old rabbi from the 1400s. About that statement that I just told you, acquire for yourself a friend, he says, acquire even if you have to spend a lot of money to acquire him. What is going on here? What are they talking about, buying friends?
I don't necessarily relate to acquire as buying, but I think what you're saying, or what the big rabbi was saying, was if you can't get a friend on your own, find any means to get a friend. And if it means you have to buy it, buy it.
Could be. Could be. I'll tell you what the Mishnah goes on to say. In order to enter into a friendship, you have to be prepared to invest unconditionally. You have to give of yourself. It's not what you get out of it, it's what you put into it. That's what it means. And sometimes it's really, really inconvenient.
Yeah.
I think Joey Lewis said, a friend in need is a pest.
True.
Let's look at Rabbi Steinsaltz. Text 17, page 101. He says, one of the tests of friendship is whether anyone is keeping accounts. Once a friend begins to keep accounts, even if the relationship continues in some form, it has become a commercial or semi-commercial relationship, which is very different than friendship. When one friend begins to calculate and compare what he gave and what he received, one demands or even thinks about some return for his gifts, not only monetary value, but a kiss or a smile, the friendship has died and has become a business relationship.
Yeah.
So friendship
Rabbi.
Yeah.
You know,
Carlos, I've been waiting for you all night.
well, I ordered and received the. Forgive me if I mispronounce this. The Chumash.
Chumash? Wow, you did?
All right.
The 5 books of Moses?
Yes, sir. So I ordered that, and it was fascinating to read the commentary. You know, there's some things I've never heard of before. But one of the things that struck me was that it says our God's will is for us to reflect His divinity on earth, and you know, it doesn't say just to whomever we want to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I interpreted that as it's got to be everybody.
Very good.
You know, I'm dealing with a situation right now with one of my commissioners. Not the nicest person on the planet, has been pretty awful to me. But you know, yesterday she came into the office and she said that she had a need, and I spent about a quarter of my day trying to help her. You know, but I don't have an option. You know, that's the commandment. I am supposed to reflect God's divinity to everybody on this planet.
Carlos, you rock. It's amazing. It really is amazing.
Can I just, because hearing you talk, I was raised in Christianity as well. And so the Old Testament and New Testament, and we were always taught the fruit of the Spirit, which one of those is love. And when I hear you talk about the divinity of God, that we were created in His image, and the way I was taught, it's like love isn't mine, something I produce. It's given to me by God. It is a God production inside of me. So in my own, I don't know what you would call that, in my own way of thinking, I can get in my way of that. But the divinity in me, that God's image that is in me, that love flows freely when I allow it to come from that source. Does that make sense?
Yeah, not only does it make sense, that's the advertisement for this class. that the attribute of loving kindness, which is what we're talking about this evening, is something that God endowed us with.
Right.
So by virtue of the fact that He endowed us, we have it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it.
Yes.
Can I make a comment?
Please, Walter.
The fact that in response to that statement, the comment, the agape love that is taught to us in the New Testament, it says to us the fact that we love others because God first loved us. The agape love that we show to others comes from not whether or not the fact that they're worthy of receiving the love, but it stems from the character of the one doing the love. So we measure the love out of the character of the one loving, not the deservedness of the one being loved. But agape love basically is that self-sacrificial love you're talking about with just said, which I can't pronounce. The fact that, which basically says the fact that I'm responding to the image of God in the other people, but I love them in a way that benefits them. Looking at them, it says, what can I do for them? How can I benefit them? How is my sacrificial love expressed to them in a way that they need it, not necessarily in the way that they show themselves deserving of it. So the guy on the Harley with the loud muffler, you know, we love him in the way that he needs it, not the way that he necessarily deserves it, if that makes sense, because of the character within us, you know. And I only say that is the fact that you can understand loud mufflers if you've ever owned a Harley. The fact that we love our loud mufflers, but we'll take that. But yes, the fact that I'm responding to that call, what a great concept this cassette is. sacrificial, constant, unconditional. What a terrific concept all that is, you know.
Walter, this is great. This is also a segue to what we're going to be covering in the next 2 weeks. And there's a few more points I want to make, but I want to just elaborate on what Walter said. On the right side, you have love. On the left side, you have restraint. And in the middle, you have harmony, which in practical terms means if you are of a loving nature, you may be tempted to let your 2-year-old stick a screwdriver in the light socket because he's having fun playing. But that is not a good use of love. That's where restraint comes in, where you don't let him do that. Another example, which I think I used in the first evening together, was somebody who's of a loving nature, because we're predisposed. Some of us are just, our loving side is more accessible than in other people. So somebody like that, if they walk into a coffee shop and they see a strung out heroin addict panhandling, they're going to give him $20, even though he's probably going to go buy some heroin with it. Somebody with the opposite temperament, somebody with gevura, somebody with restraint, with discipline, is going to say, if I love this guy, this is the worst thing I could do for him. He's got a divine image. I don't want to ruin his divine image by giving him more heroin. I'm going to withhold that from him. So both those positions are in a tug of war until the harmony comes in. And that harmony is compassion. The compassion realizes that neither of those approaches really works. The best approach is to say, come inside, let me buy you something to eat, and let's talk about what's going on with you. That's compassion. So all of these different soul powers we're talking about in Hebrew are called midot, M-I-D-D-O-T. Singular is midah, M-I-D-A. A midah literally means a measurement. If you have, those little spoons that all come together, one bigger than the other, that people use for baking, those are literally called midot spoons, measurement spoons.
Oh.
So these soul powers are midot, which means you have to take a measure of this and a measure of that so that they all sync together in an appropriate way at an appropriate time. Because it's not always appropriate to be way out there with your love. Sometimes the absolute best response to shock somebody out of their current position is anger. Not because you're angry, but to elicit something in them.
Glad you said that, because in that space where some people are loving too much, or where they just keep like sacrificing their own, or I don't know if sacrifice is the word, but pushing down, where letting someone go on and on and on, or just tapping their loving kindness resource enough to where, too, there's some, like someone dealing with somebody who has some mental health issues, and they're like creating boundaries or structure or discipline or some way in which the measurement too like is understood, and that's okay, where you have your loving kindness has to see that boundary, that discipline, that kind of what you're talking. I want to make sure to like capture, it's hard to know when you're really caring or loving someone what's the right, or someone facing addictions or any number of things.
So this young man came to me, and thankfully, if I was a therapist, I'm sure I would be defrocked or disbarred or something by now. But I'm not a therapist, thankfully. Not thankfully, but I don't have any licensing I can lose. So this kid came to me, and he was in a bad way. He had gone to Israel, and somehow he meditated too deeply, and he went a little too high. I don't mean with drugs. I mean just in spirituality. He passed this point of no return. and something just snapped in his brain. He came back here and he was living with his parents, and every night he would get out of his bed and he would sleep in the flower bed in the backyard. I mean, he was like way out there. And they started with a therapist and a psychiatrist and all this, and they asked me to help. So he's on and on and on about these high places, like whatever, totally obsessed with himself. And finally, in the middle of it, I yelled at him and said, Adam, is that all you do is you think about yourself? Let me tell you what's going on in my life. I got this going on. I got that. I had made up some stuff, whatever it was. And it like shocked him totally. Why am I telling you this? Because literally years later, when I ran into him, he told me that that was a turning point for him when he realized how self-focused he was. Anyway, for whatever that's worth. I want to, anyone else on this kind of subject that we're on, whatever this subject is?
Yeah, really quick. Another rabbi told me on a Shabbat that it's actually considered a mitzvah if maybe in the moment you might do something that will piss someone off, but if that contributes to their long-term overall growth, then that what you did could be considered a mitzvah because you promoted them to reach to their higher selves.
Based on what? Based on the result of that happening, or just
based on how things play out. If you do something to make someone realize their higher self, maybe it's not nice at first or whatever, but it was just interesting. I forget, there was some story that he mentioned with it, but it was just an interesting format of how something at first may not seem like it's like a mitzvah, but it can play out. And if it helps someone develop to their higher purpose, then
yeah, I guess so. It's a little scary.
Yeah,
because the person has to be ready to hear it.
Yeah,
if you give the right message at the wrong time, it's not only no value, it's counterproductive.
I know we're running time, and I don't mean this, but can I synthesize all of this in the way that I think I understand? Then you correct me.
Go for it, Walter.
We're asking questions with regard to this self-sacrificial love, unconditional love, and we're asking who and how and where, and those kind of questions. But as I understand it, without the understanding, we can't answer those questions. So understanding the implication of wisdom and understanding that controls the love that we express, we're always wondering the who, what, when, and wheres, because we don't have an answer of the who, what, when, and wheres.
That's right.
Does that sort of make sense?
Walter, you're a rock star.
It's a parent.
No, I'm married. But that's the way that I say it. It takes divine wisdom to learn how to love people.
You hit it. That's beautiful. I want to close with a beautiful story of friendship. This was from a book called The Hasidic Tales of the Holocaust. Along with two other Jews, Rabbi Israel Spira of Belużów had been condemned to be hanged. It was just a part of another day at the Janowska Road concentration camp in Poland. But before the hangman could carry out the sentence, it turned out that there was a sudden need to bury some Jews on the other side of the camp. Run to work, they were commanded. Then be back here in an hour. The burial completed, they were commanded to rush back for their appointment with a hangman. They rushed off as night descended. Suddenly, the rabbi of Belużów stopped running. He paused for a minute and said, "Wait, my friends, wait a minute. Why are we rushing? If we're late, what are they going to do?" One of the men continued on trance-like, but the rabbi and the other Jew turned towards the barracks. It was dark when they reached the blocks where the inmates slept. The rabbi suggested that they enter one of the barracks. They won't allow us in, said the other Jew. We have nothing to lose by trying, said the rabbi. The gallows are waiting for us anyway. They entered one of the barracks. The inmates attempted to chase them away. I am the Bluzhnover Rebbe. Don't be afraid. I beg you to let us hide here overnight, for otherwise we will hang from the gallows. The inmates huddled together, debated for a minute, then returned with their decision. We will hide only you, Rabbi. For a Hasidic Rebbe, we are willing to take a risk, but not for the other Jew. Without him, I'm not staying, the rabbi said as he moved towards the door. They remained in the block. That night, no search and no head count took place. The next day, they found a way to get the rabbi and the Jew attached to another work brigade. What could you do for a friend this week? That's your homework. What can you do for a friend this week? Next week, we're going to talk about constructive criticism, compassion, how the faults we see in others might be a message for us, which we covered tonight. And we're going to talk about the soul powers of Gevura and Tiferet, of restraint and compassion. It's exactly 9 o'clock. If anybody has questions or they want to continue talking, I'm happy to stay on. For those of you who need to leave, have a great rest of your week and a beautiful Shabbat. And we'll see you next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Any questions, comments, cucumbers, kale,
Thank
tomato?
you.
Shalom.
Good
Thank you.
session. Thank you.
Okay,
Everybody have a
Thank
good see you next week, Lord willing.
bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Quick question.
Thanks for joining us, Anya. Come back.
Should I give you my email?
Yeah, texted. Do you have my contact information?
I don't.
So, Kimberly, can you forward my contact info to Anya, and then she and I will be in touch?
Can she message
Thank
you
you.
in the
Yeah.
chat?
Yeah, message. I don't know how to do this chat thing. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh, I see a chat message right now. What does it say?
yeah.
I see. Okay.
This is on it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Good night.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody.